Well, truly one of the most fascinating woods in all of guitar making is figured maple. You've heard of flamed maple, tiger maple, fiddleback maple, quilted maple. A lot of them are just different cuts or different names for the same thing, but there are two truly different styles of figure that arrive in a maple tree. One is quilt and one is flame. Often people talk about, is this strain on the tree, or is it something that caused it to bend and create this? Well, the answer is no, it's genetic. The easiest way for me to describe it is some people have straight hair and some people have curly hair. And it's a genetic reason that they have straight hair versus curly hair. Maple's the same way. If you imagined a smooth pipe as being a trunk of a tree, that would be a non-flamey piece of maple. If you imagined a piece of flex pipe with the undulations that you could bend being the trunk of a tree, that would be what we would call flamed maple. Okay? I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Here's a piece of maple, still got the bark on it. Once we strip the bark off, we can actually see the surface of the wood itself. And I want you to look. Larry's going to come in real close with the camera and follow along this. And I'm going to try and get this at the right angle where you can see these undulations. They move across the board like this. And what they are is the grain is growing in and out like this, and like that piece of flex pipe. Now eventually, when you turn that over and cut it, you're going to see the flame marks. Okay? We're going to show a little bit more of that in more detail. This piece of wood is different. It's not quite as straight. It tends to be a little bit more bumpy. It's got a kind of a combination of bumps, nodules, which you can see, and some straight lines. These will kind of turn into little round bubbles or quilts, and these will be straight fiddlebacks. I'm going to get another sample of wood here that really tends to show you what's going on. This one was split right here, so the grain just jumps out. I think that the camera will capture this quite easily. So here we have flamed maple. Same thing as what's going on here, but this time it's split so the fibers have moved around it. Basically what's happening is because the fibers are moving in this undulating fashion. In fact, I'll pick up some of these with my nail. You can see that the fibers of the wood are going up and down. I can pull a piece off. See how that works? It's not a straight piece of wood. It's curly like kinky hair. So exactly what it's like. If we took one fiber from here, it would be like a long strand of finely kinked hair. Okay. Now when I flip this to this side, you can see this is what we would call curl, because we're 90 degrees from the face of this. So we're not looking at it from the same point of view. So you still have a lot of, it's the flat sawn piece with the grain running not quarter sawn, and you've got this undulating flame. If I flip it to this side, you get what we call the tiger stripe or the fiddleback. So fiddleback wood comes from trees with this type of grain, and curly wood comes from the same tree but just cut on the different face. It's very similar to that would be a log that displays the grain pattern that we know as quilt. You can see that this tree just has millions of bubbles growing, undulating bubbles just piled on top of each other. It's genetic. It's a little freak of nature. There's not very much of it that happens at all. Truly, this type of wood is probably 1% of the trees will even have this type of fiddleback or quilt in it. And then some of those will be this type and some will be that type. Sometimes we're in the chips with both of them. We get logs in that display both styles of wood. You can't just go out and order it. You have to stumble across it in the forest. I want you to notice this. We've cut this perfectly flat, and as this comes up and you see a flat spot where we've sanded, you can see this three-dimensional surface start turning into a two-dimensional surface with the evidence of what's underneath. And there's your quilt. That's how that works. By nature, quilt, the real bubbly quilt, is always the flat sawn wood, or it's running parallel with the curve of the tree. As soon as we cut it 90 degrees to the curve of the tree, like we do with the spruce, it starts to turn into a longer flame. We tend to call that sausage quilt. I'm going to show you two guitars. Here's a nice little guitar that's got fiddleback. You can see that it's this face of the wood we're holding right below it that's being displayed on this guitar. Here's the same model of a guitar, little nylon string guitar, and it's more quilted. So the difference between these two is just how the tree happened to grow.